Welcome to my little paintbrush. My name is Miss Cami and we are going to dive right into a beautiful summer sunset tonight, and I'm really excited that you're here to paint with me. I hope that you've come ready to have a good time and to have kind of a therapeutic moment while we create together. Just a reminder, you can pause this video, you can rewind it, you can paint at your own pace. Please don't feel the need to keep up with me. I'm going to go pretty quick. But you don't have to. So if you feel overwhelmed by the speed of the class, go ahead and pause this video and catch up. That's totally fine. Okay, let's go ahead and just get started. I'm going to get a large flat brush. This is a 3/4 inch. It's my favorite size to use. And I'm going to get it wet in some clean water. And we're going to work on our sunset first. So we're going to go from top to bottom. We're going to go all sky and then water. So we're going to move fairly quickly because it's important to do so with blending our skies especially. Okay, so here's my palette, some fun colors. We're going to start in this pink. I'm just going to kind of clump together. Okay, I'm not going to mix thoroughly or anything, just sort of clump it on my brush, make sure there's enough water in my paint. And I'm going to start to fill in my sky. And it's just beautiful. Beautiful colors. I really want to showcase each of these colors. And I want nice streaks to happen. And in order to get that, you kind of have to chunk in the paint and not blend it too much. So you can see you kind of, if you brush over an area too much, you lose those chunky streaks. Okay, so be careful not to do that. We're going to transition here. I'm going to just load with some white. This is part of the painting that you'll feel like I'm just kind of speeding through because I've got to go fast to get my blends. Now I'm not going to wash my brush, but I'm going to chunk some more paint on there. I'm going to go over to my yellow this time. And I'm going to start to just pull that yellow. You can see I pull it right up into the pink. I'm not going to be shy about that. It's okay if it meets the pink. And one of the main reasons for that is pink and yellow, they're friends, they're both warm. We're not going to end up with any mudding, okay? Now I just scooped up some of that bright, bright yellow and just went right onto my canvas. Again, trying not to blend too much, trying to allow those good streaks to come through. But also I want some bright moments to happen too. So I'm going to let those bright, fun moments take place on my canvas as well. Okay, we're going to just continue to work our way down. Still not washing my brush. Now we're going to orange. Okay. And between each color, some white, we're just going to be generous with the white. It just kind of is a fun way to transition. But as I come down to my line where I'm going to meet my water, I really want it to get nice and dark. Okay, so I want to end with those nice dark tones of orange. If you are a fan of wrapping your canvas like I am, do that as you go down it. Just kind of wrap it as you go. Alright, I'm going to just kind of pull my surface tight again. It starts to kind of warp a little bit. You're probably on a canvas, so you're not having that problem, so that's nice. Okay, so we have this beautiful sky. See how fast that went in, and we had to move at that pace, okay, to get that. Now we're going to begin at this line going backwards from the sky. So we're going to start with orange in our water, okay? And I'm going to come in with this, and I want to still kind of see where that line is. And I can see mine. I want the darkest to be up against that line too. So make sure there's a nice dark orange right there, okay? And now I'm going to, let's see here, we're going to have some hills right there, so I don't need to worry too much about what's happening right on that line, okay? But I'm going to start to lighten, because I'm going to go into turquoise pretty quickly here, but I want to give kind of a little tribute to each color that's in the sky first. So I'm going to load with a little bit of yellow and white as I come down, because I want to bring in bits of that yellow into my water as well. Let the streaks happen. Again, that's what's so great. And water's going to have those ripples. Try not to lose that nice orange that you have along there. Okay, and then we're going to come into our pink. Okay, so showcasing all of these colors here. Pulling them all through. Just nice and gently here. Okay, so you can see we're kind of mirroring what's happening in the sky. But here at the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush to ensure I don't get any green, too much of a lime green if I have some yellow in there. So I just kind of rinsed it off. And now I'm going to load with some turquoise and white. And I'm going to start at the base this time and move into, look at this, just beautiful color combination. As I move towards the pink, I'm going to continue to just scoop white onto my brush. And you might get purple happening, which is totally fine, because that's what's going to happen when we marry those two together. But if you're feeling like you're not getting a good blend, just go over and put some of that pink on your brush, you know, and then really try to blend those two lines together. You can go and get some of that light pink on your brush if you feel like you're not getting it. You can pull it up. Just again, be careful not to get too much yellow on your brush. That's really what we're trying to avoid. Too much of the yellow going into the turquoise. We got a good blend there. I'm not loving the blend between the yellow and pink right now, so I just washed the turquoise out of my brush, and I'm going to go back to some of that yellow and put that in. You can see it's okay to work sections of your canvas over and over again. Oftentimes we feel like we can't do that, and we can. It's totally fine to just have to go back and forth to these different parts of our canvas over and over again. It's normal. You're not going to get a perfect blend the first time, and you're going to have to work spaces over and over. Okay? I like how this is feeling now. I just, again, want to make sure that dark orange is right up there, because that's kind of going to act as the shadow from my little hills. Okay, so this is beautiful. I'm loving it so much. I'm going to wash my big brush here. Just give it a good rinse and set it aside. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab a smaller flat. This is a number 12 flat. But you can use a round brush. You can keep using your big flat if you're comfortable with it. I'm just going to switch to this here. Get it wet. And I'm going to go ahead and get a touch of black and mix it with some of this turquoise. What I'm trying to create here is a very bluish gray tone, okay? Don't want it to be too black. I don't want it to pull too blue. But if you ever look at mountains or hills in the distance, they tend to be pretty gray. The further away they kind of blur out for us. So we're going to play with that, maybe even a touch of white just for coverage. I like that color right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and shape in sort of my little hills, okay? And you just kind of use the toe of your brush and lightly kind of start to go in here. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. I just try not to end the same way when I go across. And then we'll fill it in. Make sure that your orange sky is nice and dry. If your sky isn't, you'll want to, like that little chunk right there, you'll want to take a second to dry it off, fan it off, get a blow dryer, whatever you need to do. But just kind of fill those in. And you do want a nice crisp line where the water and hills meet. So kind of spread those bristles out, fan them out, and go across there and try and get a nice crisp line if you can. It's a little bit tricky to go across the canvas without messing up a little bit, but you can flip your canvas around to get a better angle too. You don't have to keep it straight like mine. I tell people all the time that I would be adjusting like crazy if I could. Kind of stuck where I am with the filming and everything, but you definitely don't have to be. There we go. Now, depending on the shade you're using, the shade of your sky and all the different components, you might need 2 layers to this. I'm pretty happy with what's happening here with 1 layer. So I'm not going to worry about another one. But if you step back and you feel like you need an extra layer, just let that dry and then you can go back. Before I move on though, since I'm okay with it, I'm going to put a little bit of white on my brush. And I'm just going to brighten and put some character in these. And of course you can do this however you want. If you want to have more of the traditional mountain range look where you just kind of favor one side of the mountain to get those shadows and lights, you can do that. This is a little bit looser of a piece, so I didn't take the time to do that way. I just like the kind of little more simple look to this painting. So you can kind of decide on that, but I just like to add a little bit of light and a little bit of character before I move on. And blend it down a little bit. Okay, it's looking super fun. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wash that brush now. Rinse it out. Okay, now we're gonna go to our black paint and we're gonna work on shaping the foreground of our painting. So this is the very, very front of our piece. And that's going to be in black because that is what the viewer sees. It's the closest to them. And it's sort of just a silhouette because of how bright the sky is behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and keep using my flat brush. I'm going to dip it in my black paint. I've watered it down just a little bit so I can get a nice movement on my brush. And then I'm just going to come up about halfway between the mountains and the base of my canvas. And I'm just going to shape in just a nice little bank here. Or bring that up a little bit if you want. I like to just kind of get it in, and then I can play more with it once it is. And then you just fill that in. This particular step, if your water is still wet, your paint is still wet, it's okay. This will cover it up pretty well. I like to come in, once I get that filled in like that, I like to come in with some of that bluish gray that we used on the mountains there in the background. I like to just kind of add some of that in. Just kind of lightens it up and adds a little bit of character to this part of our painting as well. And you don't want to take away all of the dark, but just kind of put some of it in, just like that. Awesome. We are doing fabulous. Just coming right along here. I'm going to wash that brush. Give it a good rinse. Now I'm going to go to my detail brush, and it's time to put in our weeds, okay? We've just got a couple of them, and then we have some sprigs of grass. So if you want to get a piece of chalk or a pencil or something to kind of place these in before you go for it, there's no harm in that. I'm just loosening up my black paint with some water while I chat with you. There's no harm in doing that. It's totally fine to trace something in or give yourself a line. I've painted this piece several times, and so I feel comfortable enough just going for it. But if you don't, that's completely fine. Okay, let's go ahead and put our first one in. And this is our tallest one, and it's going to start almost to the top of our canvas and then come down. And it's going to kind of wind around. Let's see, I don't want to get my hand in any wet paint here, so I'm trying to be careful. Just going to kind of have a fun bend to it, okay? And just go up like that. So that's our tallest one. We can come back through it and stabilize it a little bit more. Make it a little bit thicker at the base of it. And have it come up. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect though. So there's that one. And then we're gonna put another one in. It's not as tall. This is gonna be sort of like our tallest one. We're gonna put one in right here. It's going to kind of bend this way. Okay, and again it gets kind of thicker as it comes to the bottom here. Okay, we've got a little one that's just hanging out right here. It goes slightly over the mountains a little bit. And then we've got another tall one, but not as tall. This one is a little bit straighter. That's a little bend at the beginning. I'm going to try and keep it pretty straight. So notice I'm just trying to make sure I don't have a cookie cutter, everything happening the exact same way kind of a piece. I want everything to have personality and be different. Okay, and that's really important when you're painting nature. You don't want to have everything look the same. Then way down here we have one that's just kind of off on its own right there. Kind of bent towards there a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add a few other twigs here. We've got a couple that are up in here. Picking up paint right there. Just touch that up. We can go back through too and add some touch up. Okay, I'm also going to add some fun little details to these. This one has kind of like a little branch that kind of just goes off of it like that. So I'm going to put that in. And it has another little one right there. So just keep getting my palm in wet paint. Okay, so you're just kind of adding some fun character to these, but they can totally just be your own too. You don't need to follow this exactly. Just think of creating different personality to each one of these. Okay. Wow, I am going to wash my hand and wash some of this paint off real quick. This is just a Clorox wipe. They're awesome to have if you keep doing what I do and putting your palm in your paint. They're great to just wipe it off with. Alright, now we're going to go down this little guy and add a little bit of character right there too. I guess I didn't get it all off. Okay, so we've got these fun things. Now we're going to go right for our little weed look. And you see how I'm just brushing these strokes down here? Okay, this is what you need to do. You just kind of lightly brush them down. You don't want anything perfect. You want to kind of end it abruptly and not too perfectly. Okay, we're just going to do that with each one of these. See how I start kind of up at the top, and then as I work my way down, I'm allowing it to kind of play itself out. These can be super relaxing to paint or really stressful, depending on how you are feeling. If you're thinking too much about it, it's probably going to be really stressful for you. So try to loosen up a little bit and not worry too much about it being perfect, because the more we think about it, especially when we're painting nature, the less natural it looks, actually. Try and just point that brush in a downward like V stroke, and not like you're painting leaves on a flower where you're kind of going out more. You want to kind of go a little bit sharper up and down. Okay, we've got this one over here. That first stroke being on the top is really important, that beginning stroke. So don't veer from doing that one. Okay, look at us just come along. Come down to this one. I'm going to pull this one up a little bit more, make it a little taller. Beautiful. It's just coming along so great. Okay, so we're going to add a few sprigs of grass around some of these, which is really, really quite fun to do. I'm going to start on this lower one. Actually, I want to do a little stem right there. Okay, so down here, we're just going to pull our stroke to the left and bend to the left while we do it. So we're just going to pull that stroke to the left all the way until we get here, and then we're going to pull it to the right. Okay, and we'll pull it all the way down. Okay, so you see how it's bended stroke. It's not straight up and down. So this side, I'm going to do the same thing. See how I'm kind of bending it one direction and then bending it in the other. Looks like right between these two I have quite a tall little sprig, so I'm going to pull that up. And then I'm going to start the same thing. I'm going to start to bend my stroke that way, pull it up, okay, and then I'll start to bend in the other direction. Okay, so you see how we're just kind of gathering these little bits of grass together. But the direction of our stroke is really important. If we just went up and down like this, like, you know, little kids in kindergarten do grass, it wouldn't look as natural. So make sure you have that nice, fun bend to your stroke. Okay, so now we're over here. We're going to have some kind of come off the page a little bit, all the way down our little hillside. Okay. Of course they kind of meet there, but that's fun. We'll come through and clean up our little hill, but look at that. It looks so fun, right? I love it so much. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my dragonflies in. This is another moment where if you feel the need to like get in touch with a pencil or some chalk and put them in first, there's seriously no problem with that. I'm going to do 3 of them, and I'm going to do each one a different size. So I'm going to start with my big one so you can kind of see the shape that I've got. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to press my brush, and then I'm going to pull it pretty thin. See that? You get a nice long stroke there. Then I'm going to do just a dot where the head is. And I'm going to pull a little line on either side. So pretty simple, okay? It's just brush pressure. I'm going to do another one that's kind of coming downward. This one is quite smaller. So I'm going to press and not pull that as far out. It's just a smaller guy. Little head. Put the little lines through it. Okay, and then I have one that's kind of coming to join the party. It's up here quite a ways. So I'm going to start at the tail this time. So now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go light pressure, and then I'm going to press. Okay, so you can do it the opposite way. You just have to pay attention to where you're going with that stroke. I'm going to do the little head and then the little lines. Okay, so our dragonfly bodies are in. Let's clean this one up a bit. Let me pull it through. They have such a long, you want that space to work with. Okay, so now we're going to shape in our wings. So we're just going to do these almost like, let's make sure our paint is diluted, almost like these teardrop shapes. Okay, and there's 4 of them. We've got 2 on either side. So we're going to go 1 and 2. Okay, so you Gotta be kind of brave. 1. Doing the best that you can, right? And then this one over here, a little bit smaller, like I said. Probably get them in there, okay? And then we'll go up to this one up here. Get them in. Just like so. So pretty. Okay, let's give that a minute to dry and then we'll do some finishing touches. While they dry, let's go over to, didn't even need to wash my brush because I'm going to make some of that grayish blue again. Mix it together here. I might go a tad lighter than my mountains this time because I really want it to show. And I'm just going to take that color and I'm going to put it in little bits in my weeds here. And it's just going to bring this whole painting together. Notice I'm not covering up the black. I'm just adding to it. I'm just giving some more personality to this painting, but keeping the idea that these are silhouettes. But you can see how that addition just really brightens up the painting. And we're going to do the same thing down in the grass, the grassy parts. Okay, we're just going to add little bits of that fun grayish turquoise color. Just say, yep, this whole painting is reflecting that fun color. Then I'll switch back to my flat real quick and clean up the edges of this hillside with some black and some turquoise. Got a little messy when I was doing my little grasses and stuff. Okay, so just nice cleanup on it. You'd have some of the actual base of the grasses come down. In fact, I'm going to make sure that that's happening over here. Don't want to lose the idea that these are stable in the ground, right? So we can kind of overlap them on the hillside to indicate that's happening right there. Okay, put a little black on there too. Make sure that we've got that happening. Wonderful. We are just about finished, you guys. I'm going to wash out my brush and make sure it's got lots of water on it and make a really light turquoise. I want to water it down to almost watercolor consistency, okay? Because I'm going to paint this into my dragonfly's wings. So I want it to have sort of that transparency effect, right? So it's just kind of like barely any coverage. It's pretty watery. So you can kind of see what's still happening. It's, it doesn't feel like it's just completely covered up. I'm going to paint that inside of these here. Just like this. Gorgeous. Don't feel like you have to go all the way to the edge of the black if it's still wet or if you feel like you'll lose it, just kind of get the idea in there. And if you do lose some of your black, you can always go back with some of it and patch it up a little bit. If you're feeling like it's too much coverage, then add some water to your brush so you kind of have that watery effect again. You don't want it too watery, you don't want drips on your canvas. And there's places that it'll show up more than others as you go along. Okay, I'm not going to wash my brush, I'm just going to give it a nice load on some white. So it'll have a hint of turquoise in it, but not a ton. I'm going to spin it the best I can so I have a little bit of white on it, and I'll just give each little body of the dragonfly a little highlight. I am struggling not to get paint on my arm. Look at my arm. Okay, and then we'll just add little touches of white here and there too. Again, just brightening up. We can even go down our little stems if you want to, brighten some of those up. See, it's just really quick because you don't want to have a white out situation on your hands. You just want to add some white. And you can even do the same thing down in your grasses. Just brighten them up just a bit, like so. Okay, guys, I think we have done it. Only thing I want to do is I keep fighting my little hillside here, and I just want to make sure that I've got a nice bit of turquoise happening along there. I like that better. Just don't want it to be too black, kind of too much on its own. I want to make sure it's got some light happening. So I like that better. Okay, friends, I think it's time for a signature. I hope you love this. This is so much fun to paint. Let's go ahead and get some paint on our detail brush and sign our name on our canvas, wherever you would like. It's your signature, make it your own, make it fabulous. And thank you so much for painting this with me. I hope you enjoy yours. I hope you share it with me, tag us on social media so I can see any variations you did, or maybe none at all, and maybe you just absolutely love it. And that's fantastic. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We do drop new content weekly, and you won't want to miss it. And hopefully I'll paint with you again soon. Thanks, guys.